What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a unveil slash overview to do with you today. Let's get into it. So my apologies up front. I did unbox this. I thought this was just something that was coming back to me via the pass around. Got into it thinking that's what this was, which was the TACCOM Vigor 2, which comes in a similar type of case. And once I opened it, I realized what it was. Decided to go ahead and just handle it. It takes the build up a little bit out for me of like, what am I getting? Because I get notifications that it's coming, but I kind of lose track of what's going to get here. So while I have an idea, I'm never 100% sure which one is coming. Oops, sorry, notification. There we go. So I opened it, handled it, carried it for a little while. So it's going to be kind of an unveiling to you, and it'll be again a full overview coming via the Lefty Pass Around group. This one is a collaboration between Dave and Colin. This is the Tuya Mutt. Actually, let me put the package back in there. Very interesting knife. You're going to have some very interesting materials. So let's go ahead and get into it. What we'll be doing today is we're going to do some size comparisons. We'll do profile and check the weight, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. Let's see if I can get it to calm down. There we go. First up, we're going to do a comparison against the Spyderco Para 3, and as you can see, it is actually just a little bit smaller overall than the Para 3. So this is, as the name would imply, a small guy or a mutt. Well, actually, a mutt is just a mixed breed, right? It's not necessarily indicative of the size. Anyway, here we go against the Spyderco Shaman. As you can see, clearly, even against the Para 3, it is just a smaller knife. And then we will bring out the Tactile Maverick for another size comparison here. We'll probably do the profile comparisons against the smaller knives. And then just for one of my medium EDC knives, here it is against the Benchmade Bug Out and small knife. No surprise, we just established that. And I think that's what the name was supposed to imply, even though the mutt can just be, again, a mixture of breeds, not necessarily any specific one or multiple breeds. As you can see here, just a little bit thicker than the Benchmade Bug Out. I don't even think they really need to touch for you to be able to see that. I'm going to move it over to the side. And then just for comparison, here it is against the Para 3, and I would say that they're pretty comparable as far as thickness there. So small but chunky, so you have something there to hang on to. It feels a little heavy, though, for the size. Let's see here. So 3.3, it's not awful. I guess just because it's smaller, I was expecting it to be a little bit lighter weight. Let me go ahead and just kind of jump into it. So you got titanium with Chinese carbon fiber that's made to look like fat carbon, but it's not really fat carbon. It almost looks like a Damascus in person. And then S90V heat treated at 60 to 62. I'm pretty sure. I double checked it right beforehand. You can see you got CM for Colin Mason Pierre on here as the collaborative person, and then you can see that you have DW there. You have the Tuya embroidered here in the middle of the Chinese fat carbon. Looks good, nicely done, nice and smooth. I noticed here that instead of going for the inlay, they decided to go ahead and make it sit proud. That's one way to avoid of making sure that you don't have any blemishes. It's laid on top. No issues with that. You go one way or the other, right? You have a nice milled titanium pocket clip. Nothing special, but works well. Not a tapper. Goes in and out of the pocket nicely. I will say, though, I don't know if it's because it's contoured, but it does kind of look like it ramps up. But I never experienced any issues with it going in and out of the pocket. It worked just fine for me. It's a smaller knife, so access to the lock bar is a little tight. It's not awful, but I definitely have found that I have to squeeze in there to get it to open. flipper tab on here is nice and high above the pivot, so it fires out. Nice detent on here. I have to dig down into, because of how chunky it is with the inlay and the titanium and it just being a thicker knife, I have to kind of dig down to get to that fuller. So while it does work, it takes a minute. It's not like a quick deployment. I have to kind of wiggle down in there and to get it, and it deploys, but it feels good. Detent feels dialed very well for both flipper tab and for the opening hole. But that access to that lock bar, that's really tight. Now, if you're doing the slide, the European slide, it works fine. No issues with that whatsoever. I think I slammed it a little hard there. And then, yeah, it's a snug fit. Not horrible to where I would complain about that, but I am fighting against the flipper tab trying to get into the chamfered piece, which is way up by the flipper tab. I think the best way to get in there is to kind of do that European style close for me. And, large hands, that might not affect you the same way. The action, very good, nice and smooth. I love the belt satin finish on here where you have a true belt satin. You can see the grind lines, very smooth. It has a good geometry directly behind the blade, not super thin and slicey, but far from thick. And blade stock is probably on par with, yeah, I would say on par with, maybe slightly thinner up at the top here than the Para 3, but not anywhere near as slicey out on the tip as the Para 3, which is a full flat grind. I think, yeah, Kevin put some skiffs in here, so that is an asterisk. And thanks to Kevin for allowing me to participate in this, and for Colin and Dave to send out this example. But there's skiffs in the pivot, so the action, I doubt it diminishes that much. But you can, when you put skiffs in there, they're just very silky, glassy smooth. It almost feels like phosphor bond washer smooth with a quicker close. So I like that a lot. Good sounds. Yeah, really good sounds for a little knife. Ergos are okay. It is like, I am almost just a 3-finger grip. Like, I can't quite get my finger onto the back of the knife. It rounds out, so I kind of fall off. So it's just a little small for me. But if this were like a 5th pocket companion carry, something that I was throwing in the pouch, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad at all. S90V, titanium, and Chinese fat carbon, all for under $300. Not a bad deal. I left my alternative recommendation out. I'm sorry. My alternative recommendation, if you'd like something a little bit bigger that kind of has some of the similar bells and whistle, I would steer you towards the Quiet Carry 9. It comes in at $330, whereas the Mutt's coming in under $300 at $290. But you're getting 20 CV. They recently did an iteration with Magna Cut. I like 20 CV's edge retention better, but Magna Cut is still good. I would say the S90V is going to be superior to the Magna Cut as far as edge retention as well. And you're getting an inlay, titanium, a larger size, but still more medium EDC, not full size. So you're down in the size to where it's not bruiser heavyweight, but it's a nice companion for your EDC. I use it as a primary all the time with no issues whatsoever. So that would be kind of my alternative recommendation. For the price point, it's pretty sweet. You could get a tactile Maverick with the micarta scales, I think, for like $250. But it's a crossbar lock. It's not, it's not titanium. It's not the same kind of comparison, in my opinion, depending like where you fall. You know, if you don't want a Chinese made knife, there you have Taiwan, and you have USA made for some other ideas of where you could look for something like this. But this is a cool little knife, not for me personally, but I do appreciate the build and the design. It's a good looking knife. Just looks like a smaller knife, so I think that's what's kind of throwing me off. And I'm not a huge fan of the Chinese version of fat carbon. It looks like Damascus. Here's some fat carbon beside it. I don't know how well that'll come through in the pictures, but you can tell it's just the color's a little bit more muted. It's a more matte type finish, and maybe just putting some mineral oil on there might bring some of the shine back out. I don't know. But very cool. I appreciate being able to check it out, and the build quality is definitely there for sure. What do you think about the Tuya Mutt? Let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing your input and thoughts on these. Shout out to everyone out there that likes, comments, and is subscribed. I appreciate all the support. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week, and until next time, peace.